2026. Terry Miller, the disc golf guy, along with a new and improved Johnny V. Wait, that's Dynamite. Dana, red beard, red Christmas tree. How we doing tonight, buddy?
T-Dog, good to see you. Good to see you.
Well, so first, I got to throw out just a few disclaimers. I am at my own house, in my own office, not with the standard equipment, setup, know-how, understanding, all of that stuff that we normally have when the ever so brilliant Johnny V is in the control. So please bear with us tonight. If there's any missteps or you see things you shouldn't see, or there's an extra cutaway or two, or something terrible goes wrong, well, this we will call this your warning right now. But tonight, I am excited. We're going to have Dana here. Dana and I will catch up on a few things, what's going on in the disc golf community. And then shortly after that, I think we're going to catch up with our Cold Turkey 15 champion in Christopher Meyer. I had a pleasure of not only running a tournament this weekend, but then also filming and watching him perform well, along with the rest of the card, of course. And there's a lot of names, a lot of faces that Dynamite will recognize, as this event was held in southeastern Wisconsin and not too far from the land of Dana. So Dana, Tuesday night, I think it's been a couple of weeks since we had you. Tell me what's been going on.
Yeah, probably more on the monk side of things. Not too much, man. Just doing the thing, laying low, work, family. Had been taking advantage of the nice weather that we've had, but now it's seemingly December, I guess the calendar says, and with that, we've got some chilly weather here with it.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this weekend was ridiculous. I somehow have been very blessed for many years that I think about at least 12 out of the 15 years that I've hosted the Cold Turkey at the end of November, 2 days after Thanksgiving. Somehow we have unseasonably warm weather, and this weekend was no different. We were 48, 46 degrees for the highs, and then it instantly got chilly come yesterday and today, didn't it?
Yeah. And I want to say I played at a Cold Turkey. Did you run one at Parkside
ever? I did. First 2 years were held at UW Parkside.
I think I may have got an ace even at one of those. But anyways, I can remember playing in a T-shirt at that one.
Yes, that was one of the. You're exactly right. One of the many warm ones that we had. Tell us a little bit. Of course, just this last weekend, everything from Black Friday, which I hope is kind of sort of a thing that's actually going away, but Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, Cyber Monday, Cyber Week, all of that madness. Is that all? How meaningful is all of that when it feels like most of our manufacturers are still out of product or struggling to get it?
Yeah, I'd say it seemed like some of the manufacturers, ourselves, Discmania included, we worked to prep for this weekend and for us for our mystery boxes. So putting product together and production orders together, and then we saw the Royal box from Latitude. That's something that was planned. So I believe everybody's seeing they see the value and we're able to plan pretty far in advance and maybe take care of some of the demand out there.
Yeah, we're seeing sales, and I think mystery boxes continue. I don't want to say dominate the market, but mystery boxes clearly have become more and more popular. And I'm not even just asking this from a Discmania, perspective that, of course, you come from. Mm-hmm. What should people be thinking about when they think of mystery boxes? Is there any misconceptions or anything you want to throw out there with regard to them? Again, this is maybe even generic or all of disc golf wide when we're talking about those. First of all, explain them maybe for somebody who doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. So mystery box is you're buying a product from a disc golf company, whether it's a vendor or a manufacturer, and essentially you don't know what you're getting. You may be getting 4 to 6 discs, 6 to 8, something like that. And it could be a variety. You could be guaranteed X amount in premium plastic, but first thing is always read the fine print. figure out what you're getting yourself into. And then before you pull the trigger on click and buy, think, if let's say you're buying one from Legacy and you've been dying to get a rival, and I'm going to buy this mystery box and I'm going to get that rival. And then you get your mystery box and there's no rival. And so you're junk. I bought it because I wanted a rival. If you're looking for a particular disc, go and buy it. Don't buy a mystery box and hope that you're getting whatever X, Y, or Z disc from whatever brand, because you're a good chance you're gonna be let down. So I'd say that's a big tip right there.
Yeah, and I'll follow that up and say some mystery boxes have, and it's interesting you use Legacy, because I believe they guaranteed a specific new mold or a new run of disc. I forget which it was, but they're putting in I believe a brand new disc, I think, in every mystery box. So by definition, they're reducing the mystery by a single disc, but then what else you get, could be really all over the board. And so again, as Dana said, if your expectations are on getting something very, very specific, or you just assume that something's coming, unless they spell that out as part of it, don't necessarily get yourself too worked up. I saw Nate Heinold over at Ledgestone last week. He was putting together a mystery box, and I feel like he told us about 9 things that were going to be in it. I'm like, okay, this is doesn't feel like much of a mystery, but they were clearly packing in a whole bunch of things, and then they were going to have a few items we really didn't know what they were. So very cool to say. And I have to say this, last week I watched the mystery box promo put together by none other than Discmania, and it was on another level. Tip of the hat to you guys. That was certainly a solid, well produced, well put together, well thought out advertisement or promo piece for the mystery boxes. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll pass the word along. But yeah, it was put together well. Fun video. That's the stuff I get the feeling UC really thrives and enjoys doing that type of stuff. So I'm glad that he was able to make it happen this year.
All right. Well, speaking of making things happen, we still have golf. And yes, things are slowing down. Yes, I'm still going to cover an A tier this weekend in Florida. I'll talk about that later. But we still have golf going on, and not just the C tier in Wisconsin that I'm running, but some other golf from all around the country. Dana, was there any events or maybe some of our top players that jumped out at you as you were kind of perusing the PDGA tour this last weekend?
Yeah. Thanksgiving weekend, the one event I can always count on to have some big names in the Southeast and to have a monster field of players is the Belgian Turkey in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It's historically a B tier. This year was no different. They managed 180 total players. I want to say it's a little light on the open side, player-wise. 20 total open players, 2 in the FPO division. Those 2 being Amber Meese and Margaret Bodendistel. They're both out of Tennessee, but Amber was able to take the win there. And jumping up to the men's side, this is historically an event that will have 5 to almost 10,000 rated players. This year, no different, with I think 5 or 6 being in that 4-digit range. And no surprise, really, Chris Dickerson was playing the event. He just can't get enough. I love it. But he came out and shot above his 1046 rating on the day. It was 2 rounds. They played the Sinks first round, and then they played the Dam course, which I believe is a temporary course, second round. It didn't matter. Chris went 1053, 1053 to win by 2 throws over Brandon Brown. Snappy Cole finished in 3rd. Logan Bowers 4th, and then we had Joey Lutz down in 6th place. He's a name that usually performs pretty well there, and seemingly always plays well, even though we don't see him at the big events anymore. But yeah, he had a good first round, poor second, ended up in 6th. So congratulations to Chris, to Amber, and then to Kevin and Donna Turner for running a 180-person tournament Thanksgiving weekend in the middle of a pandemic. So hats off to you.
And clearly no disrespect to our runner-up or to Chris, but I have to ask, is it a little surprising to see Chris only have a 2-stroke margin of victory there?
I don't think so on those caliber of courses.
Okay.
With it being just 2 rounds, less time for him to distance himself from the field. But those Tennessee, those Southeast players, they're good. They don't let him just waltz away with huge wins.
Sorry if everyone's hearing the train way off in the background a few blocks from my house. What I was going to look up, and maybe you have it right in front of you because I don't, Dana. What does this bring Chris's winning percentage to? Or if you give me the numbers, I'll do the math. What does this bring his winning percentage to in terms of events played versus events won?
Yeah, it's almost looking like it's 50-50. He's played 28 total events. His first win came all the way back in the first weekend of February. And, he's at I don't think I need a calculator for this, Terry. 14 for 28.
14 or 13?
14.
14. Okay.
Nobody go double check. That's a 50.
Okay, so I appreciate that. I was thinking his career, because I think even with a 50% year, he's going to be over 50% for his career. And I just didn't have his stats in front of me. If you click on the PDJ, what does it show us?
Oh, Chris's lifetime?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, geez. 135 career wins to 259 events.
All right. So, 52%, 52.12% of the events he's played in, he's won. Those are good numbers.
Decent.
Well, congratulations, Chris Dickerson. I saw him and Brittany make a post just today that they're heading down to Florida, which, like I said, there's going to be an A-tier going on this weekend that I'm excited to be a little bit a part of as well in terms of some coverage. What else did we see? Anyone else you want to mention that you said did you say the FPO division was just too deep on that on this weekend?
Yeah, just too deep. And I did go over the winner. Amber Meese took down the win by 3 throws over Margaret. So netted herself a cool 225. And she shot above her rating both rounds, 892, 882, and she is 869 rated. And then jumping a little bit north to the St. Louis area, we had the Smokin' Aces presents the Cross Highway Clash. 144 total players, 30 of which were in the MPO Open division. Had a couple big names there, and they were up at the top, and that being Zachariah Johnson, Nico, and Andrew Presnell. It was, however, Presnell hanging on for the win over Nico. Let's see, Presnell went 10-31, 10-38. So played some strong golf. Jared Brabant finished in 2nd place, Nico 3rd, Phil McGuire 4th, and then Zachariah in 5th place. And down in the Open Women's division, 3 total players. A couple names we're familiar with. Rebecca Kersey got the victory there. She was at 5 over par. She beat Kat Murch by 3 throws. So pretty close battle there. And then finishing in third was Haley Day.
Awesome. Well, shout out to Rebecca. Her and I have talked about some stuff. She's an incredibly talented artist, overall, just incredibly talented person. But I know that she had won Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago, very dedicated to playing, and then was just trying to figure out exactly how much time she was dedicating to golf versus her career and all those other things. So awesome to see her. I know I saw her make a post on Instagram shortly after that about it being her last event of the year. And it seems like she's out there playing just about every possible weekend and getting out there when she can. So, and I know she watches SmashBoxx from time to time. So nice work out there, Rebecca, especially when you're talking about, someone like you just mentioned, Kat Merch, runner up to her. Kat's, again, been on tour, really grinding things out this year. So I'm sure that was a good battle between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dana, anything else on the schedule? We saw a lot of flex starts, that we're taking on during Friday, which makes perfect sense. I think that's something I could see getting into or being part of next year, is finding a way to do a fun flex start somewhere. But anything else jump off the page at you in terms of where we, because we're seeing our players, our top level players, kind of sneak in to these events that aren't necessarily, big A tiers or huge B tiers, but some of them just have that itch or that urge to still go out and be competitive. I feel like we covered almost everything that we saw out there, huh? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. There was the D-Mart Open in Oklahoma, Larry Gardner, Bo Tillman, Gavin, Osenkop, and Coda. That's the order they finished in. It was only a 9-person MPO field, but the FPO side, however, had a pretty stacked field with being 5 players deep. Emily Beach took out first place, and then Caitlin Belty finished in second, with Lindsay Langley finishing in third place. So that was 132 total players too. So big numbers down there, and pretty stacked on the MPO side of 8 total players, or not 8 or 9 total players, with 4 of them being over 1,000 rated. So pretty good competition. And then I want to say there had to have been an event in Florida.
Yeah, there probably was a couple of them, because it feels like every weekend when I'm looking down there, there's just always golf to be played somewhere in Florida, and sometimes it feels like there's multiple events going on, something on the southern part versus northern, or on one coast or another. I can't say that I took I didn't look, but did you see anything going on in Florida this last weekend? Was
that DeBerry? I'm assuming Cam Messerschmidt won, or Gavin Rathbun. Yeah. No huge surprise there. But yeah, this was a B tier. DeBerry, is it DeBerry?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't think I've ever been there.
Yeah, I can't remember. But presented by Disc Golf Center, driven by Innova. 15 total players on the MPO side. Cam Messerschmidt took home the victory there. Played some pretty solid golf, 10-27, 10-41. Right on his heels, my guy Gavin Rathbun, and then tying Gavin for second place was James Bergman. So Johnny McRae was down there. I believe that's is that his former residence?
That doesn't sound familiar, but I don't know that for a fact.
All right, I thought that might have been his former, when he was living, before he went on tour and all that. But anyways, Johnny was there, finished in 5th place. Ellen took Widboom, of course, took the win in the FPO side, but she was the solo competitor in that division.
Okay, as Ellen continues to just kind of roll around parts of Florida, picking up wins. This one uncontested, but picking up wins wherever she can, and as she should be. There's no better time to sweep up a few more as the season winds down. Dana, I did get this is a hot take. Here's a message that came in this weekend and I was afraid I missed it, but I didn't. This is upcoming, so I just want to throw it out there. Shout out to Miles Seaborn. He had sent me this message just saying, I am running an MPO only tournament in Texas on December 12th. $100 entry, invite only, 1,500 added. The field is stacked with the best players from Texas and surrounding states, and the list grows every day. It is called the So-So Classic. He says, we will have post-produced coverage by a new company out of Shreveport called Disc Golf Course Preview. So I just plugged a competitor. Damn it. I just walked right into that one. Now, awesome. So Miles, looking forward to it. I'm going to click on it right now, actually. As he said, right now it shows 33 people registered in open. You see, I'm sure you could guess most of them, but Emerson Keith, Greg Barsby, Miles Seaborn himself, Connor O'Reilly, Jonathan Nicholson, Nate Perkins, Silas Schultz. So certainly a bunch of names that, we've seen and could put on some good entertaining rounds, and we'll see how that continues to grow. But so that's kind of a unique situation. We don't really, we have a lot of tournaments called the Invitational, such and such Invitational, or but rarely are they truly invitational in a literal sense. And I guess at some point I'll definitely have to talk to Miles and kind of get a little bit more of the backstory to this, how this came about, why it is structured this way, and not to. I mean, I'm throwing it out there, and I'm seeing some 950s, 935, 892 rated players. So I don't. It clearly wasn't just purely like straight ratings based. So I'm not sure exactly how they came about it, but the whole Schultz family is in attendance. You've got Simeon Schultz, Thunder Schultz, and then and then Silas Schultz. So yeah, I mean, have tournament or have division will travel, right? I mean, it's kind of like the Frazier invasion, as I love to call them, out of Indiana. They always 3 or 4 of them. At every single tournament, they had their own. They made their own small C tier everywhere they went. So very cool. All right, Dana. So let's quickly touch on it because we're going to catch up with. I'm going to catch up with the champion in a little while. So let's touch on briefly the Cold Turkey 15 presented by Innova, an event I ran. This being its 15th year, I did miss it 2 years ago. Tom McManus had to take over the reins because I ultimately got contracted to go visit Australia and New Zealand for like 3 or 4 weeks. So a good reason to miss, but very popular event that it seems like a lot of people are really enjoying. And this year, demand was even higher than normal. And I will admit, I know that's, partially due to COVID, but 72 on Saturday, 72 on Sunday. And then I decided to offer up a flex start on the 9-hole course that's also in the park, and people could play through the 9-hole course twice to make for another opportunity to get a competitive round of PDGA sanctioned golf in. Where were you? I guess that's really the main question. Where were you? Why weren't you there?
Oh, man.
Come on, Dana. You've played.
I have. I got an ace at the last Cold Turkey I played at. Lost, I think, on the tournament on like the last couple holes. Or not lost. Was beaten. MV easily. He had a good run there. Man, what hole did I ace back in the corner by the entrance of the park? It was a good one. But
hole 4 at Gray Fox?
Yeah.
Like way back up at the entrance? Yeah. I mean, 375 feet roughly, slightly.
Yeah.
I think you aced hole 4. I mean, you didn't ace hole 3 because that's just not really one to ace. And hole 5 you could have got, but if it goes all the way back, you're talking about hole 4. That's 375 feet, kind of almost slightly uphill by a couple feet even. That's a solid shot. Yeah,
it was a good one. Me and Disc Golf Michael, aka DG Mike, went up to that one. But oof, we're not talking about cold turkey a few years ago. We're talking about cold turkey this year. Yeah, I don't know. I was at home, family, laying low, not playing much golf. I'd like to play an event, but I'm just out of practice and high expectations. I don't know. I don't think I'd be setting myself up for success. But yeah, you had a pretty big open field there. 15 in the Open, 4 in the FPO, and had some stars out there. Some very well known names within Illinois, Wisconsin, and throughout the country.
Yeah, this is an event and a location I've talked about, I know before, but this is only 10 minutes north of the Illinois border. And so we see a lot of Illinois draw. There's a lot of obviously Wisconsin draw, but almost equally, if not more, from Illinois as well. So some solid names out there. A couple sponsored players. Dan Schlitter comes to mind right there as he finished in second place as runner up. And then Holly Finley, I think she said this was ultimately her 20th event of the year. I assumed it would be a good battle between her and Barrett White. And when it was all said and done, one of the few people to ever really beat Barrett White in Wisconsin, Holly is on that very short list. And I know they've battled before, but again, when Barrett White, even in her age-protected divisions, she is so rarely beat when she comes and plays here. So congrats to Holly Finley taking it down in the FPO. Little shout out, Lisa Warner, who was going to come up, very kind soul. She was going to come up from Ohio and then said she didn't think it would be in her best interest. And she asked that we keep her entry fee in the FPO division. So for a C tier, there was well more than 100% payout, which, not by a ton, but it was great to keep that right in the division. So thank you for the contribution there, Lisa. But yeah, a good battle, Dana. And when it was all said and done, Chris Meyer, who's going to be our guest in a little while, he came out on top. And I guess what I would ask you is, as we're looking at the scores, Christopher Meyer in first, Dan Schlitter in second, Robert Martin in third, and then the local caretaker and all-around steward of the course in Sean Butler. Give everyone a pro tip as we shift from 60s and 70-degree weather now down into maybe the 40s, the 30s. If people are playing, and I know some people just pack it up and say, well, I'll wait till it's nice out, or I'll wait till I go on vacation. You talked about maybe being a little bit out of season. Do you have any pro tips as things get a little chillier? People have to kind of mentally and physically prepare for playing in 28-degree weather. Yeah,
I'd say having the right gear, whether that is if you're a vest person, wearing a vest is a great option. It keeps your core warm, gives you a little bit more movement in the arms and shoulders. That's a popular move, but having the right clothing and equipment can help set you up for success and make sure that that it's just a cold round, not a cold and miserable round.
Okay, yeah, and layer. If you find yourself maybe getting too warm, find a way to peel back one or two of those layers, and then just go accordingly, and maybe hopefully keep things packed away in your bag so that when the sun does start to set at that 4 o'clock time frame, like it did this weekend, you could definitely feel the chill coming into the air a little bit more, even though it was in the 40s, high 40s all afternoon. So good tips. Dana, let's recap real quick. Again, Christopher Meyer, your champ, Dan first, Robert in third. Holly Finley, your champion on the FPO side. Mark the Shark took things down in a really good battle. Fred Vroman almost caught him. Believe it or not, almost caught him with just a couple holes to play, and then I don't want to say he pumped the brakes. I think somebody cut the brake line actually, so he wasn't able to get him. But Adam Latella taking it down in advanced, and so on. So, and my boy Al to the G advanced grandmaster champion.
You can't skip over advanced women.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. It was only one. Erin, who actually had to get bumped. She's a new and upcomer player. She's only been playing since April, I think she told me.
Yeah.
And she was registered for intermediate. The ratings came out a week or two ago. That bumped her into advanced, where there wasn't any competitors at the time. But she came up and battled hard and played good golf up here, which was awesome to see. She only had a couple hours of sleep after working all night. And so it's great to meet her and talk to her. And then Rob de Crippler Hess taking it down in the Advanced Grandmasters with Jeffrey Romig in Advanced Masters, your champion. So those are everybody on Saturday. Before I let you go, you mentioned him a moment ago, so I would love to touch on it quickly. DG Mike, as we affectionately call him, came up a few years ago to this event with you. He did a little vlog of his own about it. He's had a very special cause working with the Movember organization, and I took some of the money that wasn't won in the ace pool this weekend, and I had talked about giving it away to St. Jude and having these places to go to. I was able to make a $150 donation to St. Jude today. And then I also split up the money and was able to give some to Dan Pastore's GoFundMe family account. And then also threw some money at DG Mike, as I know Movember is kind of wrapping up. So with a little bit of time that's left here in Movember and moving forward, can you quickly summarize what the movement is and what DG Mike's been working on these last few years and been such a champion of?
Yeah, it's mainly about promoting men's health, both physical and mental. It's I think you can a lot of us can admit it's been a stigma in the past, and Movember works to get past that. But mental health, suicide prevention, prostate cancer, testicular cancer, they're taking them on and using money to help to fund research for that, and then also the mental side of things. So it's about opening the discussion. Mike's been pretty open about his life and what he's gone through, and he likes, this is his way of Movember helped him, and this is his way of giving back and talking about it and working with Movember. And he usually finds himself on the airwaves in Chicago on TV promoting. He's I think it may have been ABC, but a lot of people were posting about it a few weeks ago. He was on the news on the tube. So shout out to Mike. Last I saw, he was over $5,000 raised, so pretty good number. And I'm going to assume a majority of that came from his fundraiser event at Delwood a few weeks back.
Yeah, just again, truly incredible. I'm going to see if I can get really fancy here for a moment, Dana, and I did want to see if I could possibly pull it up as I was out there myself, and I don't know if people are seeing that just yet. Hold on, I think if I do this, that's not quite as fancy as I wanted, but. I'm here, Dana. Sorry, that's what I get for trying to click on buttons that I don't know about. I was trying to show off Mike's chart there. Do you know if there's a hard or official deadline though? As I was just trying to show off all the money that's been raised.
I'd say I don't know for Mike's campaign if you can donate and it counts for this year or next year, but if you got a couple bucks and it is Giving Tuesday and you haven't donated to another great charity like Uplay, or you mentioned St. Jude or Edge, maybe Movember is a place you can throw a few dollars.
Awesome. Well, yeah, please go out there and contribute if you can. Mike's been doing such a great job. Now I just lost. I think did it show that he's raised over $25,000 maybe over the last few years. So
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, just incredible effort that he's taken on, and glad to support him. So yes, I do want to clarify for everyone out there, because I know there's a number of our players that competed this weekend. The Ace Pool on Saturday, Sunday, or the Flex Start, none of which were a hit. And I had marked in there that we're making a contribution to the Parks Department, which I've done, and then also St. Jude. But then after a little extra money from one or two other people that threw in, plus me doing some creative rounding and me throwing in some money, we were able to spread things out and give to all those different organizations. And I'm going to be posting the receipts tomorrow, just in case anybody really somehow thinks I'm kidding or I'm not truthful on that. But yeah, contribution to St. Jude for $150, and then $100 to Dan's family, and then $50 also to the Movember effort. So it's always that funny conundrum of I love when people get aces and they get an ace pool, but I kind of love when they don't, because I always know we're gonna take the money and put it somewhere really useful as well. So
yep, I may have to steal that. Historically, I've always had throw offs when possible, but this year Illinois State doubles, and we said we're donating it if it wasn't hitting. No one hit, so then I was same thing, happy about that.
Yeah, and normally I'm a big fan of the throw-offs and the CTPs and all that stuff. I just know that we did that the first couple years of Cold Turkey, and we ended up being at the bar a mile away where the award ceremony was, and everybody was throwing into the pitch black, at 5:15 at night, trying to do the CTP. And I said, hey, why don't let's just give the money away to some other great causes, and that's been working pretty well since then. All right, Dana, any parting shots? Hopefully everybody's still been hearing us for these last few moments. Any parting shots?
No, aside from can't even tell Jonny wasn't with us. You're doing a great job, Terry.
Nice.
Home studio looking good. So Jonny, if you're out there, we don't need you.
Yeah, something like that. No, we miss him. Sure. Yeah. All right, Dana, I love you, buddy. Missed you at tournaments, but looking forward to us all getting back together when things are a little bit more under control. And I think we'll be talking to you probably more throughout the rest of the month here. Hopefully we'll get you in just about every Tuesday, or every Tuesday you're available.
Let's do it. Big hugs all around. Have a good night.
See you soon. Love you, buddy. Have a good night. See ya. Bye. All right, let me see if I can. Hey, that actually hit the right button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and try and get rid of my Dana shot there. And in just a moment, it looks like we're going to have Christopher Meyer join us. Again, huge shout out. Thank you to Dana for stepping in tonight. Things were a little bit more chaotic and not knowing where things were going to go one way or another. We will have a giveaway, but that's going to take place next week. So we're just going to double up. We do have some pretty sweet stuff that is already in line too. I've got some discs from this weekend. There's the cold turkey. I don't know if you can see that. That is the, it's not going to zoom. There you go. The cold turkey stamp. Just a little mini stamp. Also got to debut a brand new Disc Golf Guy shirt that everybody got that was not in the pro division. So we're going to have some giveaways, but we're going to double them up next week. So if you're not already a Patreon member, you can become one. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. I think I have sitting in it's still the Disc Baron digital green room. It's just I'm the one that's got to press the buttons. I think if I hit this button and then hit this button, we're going to have coming into the show Christopher Meyer. Hey, how you doing, man?
You got me?
I got you, and I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty happy that I got you. It seemed to work for me. So
good, yeah.
Thanks for being patient. Thanks for joining. How you doing?
Good, good. Thank you, man. This is a dream realized. This is awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. And I'll be just brutally honest. Before filming your round and the entire lead card during the second round of the tournament, which I'm going to start working on here soon, I don't know that we've had a lot or much interaction in the past, have we?
I don't think so. No. No.
Okay.
But
I'm just saying, like, you're not a
here,
regular. You're not a regular in Wisconsin disc golf course play. Like I see a lot of other Illinois pros that I know. You're not necessarily one of those, are you?
No. Recently, just moved to the area. Originally I've been in Springfield the past 5 years, home to someone else you might know in the disc golf world.
Yeah.
Recently moved to Johnsburg, which is about 20 minutes down the road from the course. We closed on a house just a few weeks ago now, and saw the registration for your tournament pop up and jumped right on it. And the tournament rounds were the third and fourth round that I'd played on that course, and it suited me pretty well, and it was a good time.
Yeah, so going into this weekend, well, let's just back up a little bit, because usually when somebody has a PDGA number in your neighborhood, you're in the 33,000s. And when you stayed away from me and you're as good as you are, like I said, we usually would cross paths, whether it's playing against each other at one point or you coming to play in tournaments I run or something like that. Give everyone a kind of a quick snapshot or history to you and your golf career and how much you've been prioritizing it, whether it's been as of late or throughout.
Actually, you just mentioning that now made me think of we did actually play around together a few years back in Springfield. I think it was the Capital City Challenge. You had a few discs on you, and you brought your camera, and you were filming as much as you were playing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was me, you, and I don't know if it was Johnny McRae or I think, AJ Risley, Johnny McRae, Gary Gerthy were there that year.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, back-to-back years. I think I went down to that event. Miles and Jim and a couple other guys were running it, and I was kind of in limbo of I was kind of playing but kind of vlogging and kind of just wearing a couple of different hats at the time. It clearly wasn't taking it all too serious, but okay, so with you being down that far. Okay.
Yeah, but 34,453 is my PDGA number. I joined in 2008. At that point, I had been playing for just a couple years. I think I started playing in 06. Joined in 08. I only think I played a few tournaments in 2008 before going to college, moving to Chicago, just getting away from disc golf, and that made it kind of tough to play consistently, being in the city and whatnot and going to school. Mm-hmm. But 2013 kind of picked it back up and really started playing some more whenever I moved to Springfield. So.
Okay. And of course, a lot of golf in Springfield in that area, but it's just quite removed from, like I said, a lot of the things going on in Wisconsin. You don't see a ton of people travel from, say, Springfield up into Wisconsin events nearly as often. If you're not playing in Springfield, where are some of the other places you commonly would travel to play?
Oh, sure. Yeah, because we got the luxury of Peoria just an hour to the north, and St. Louis hour and a half to the south, and so a lot of tournaments in those areas. Okay. In the past few years, a buddy of mine, we've been traveling to some of the pro tours, Jonesboro and Ledgestone. I think are the only pro tours we've played, and then played in the Worlds in Peoria last year. And did fairly well in that too. Yeah,
and I was just gonna say, I remember I was looking and I saw that you played in those two events, the two pro tour events. So I guess you're coming off this huge cold turkey win. Now, what are your plans for next year? Assuming we're kind of back to normal and golf is readily available and accessible to most, and things are traveling and all that stuff. Let's just assume, keep our fingers crossed. Where are you in terms of your competitiveness? Are you trying to get on tour? Are you working 40 hours a week and you're a weekend warrior? Where are you with that?
Working at least 40 hours a week, that's for sure. I hope to keep up the competitiveness of it, but my wife Julie and I, we're expecting a child. It's our first, so she'll be here in a couple months. So I imagine that'll play into some of the disc golf that gets played for me. But
okay.
We're really excited.
Awesome. Well, of course, first of all, congratulations. That's awesome to hear. And then secondly, yeah, I'll drive your point home a little bit. Everything you think might get flipped on its head, and all for the better. Having an addition to the family like that is incredible. But someone like Dana more recently can attest to how your diaper boxes then turn into disc golf storage boxes,
Right.
Usually from time to time. But that's really exciting as well. When you are looking to play, whether it was this year or maybe the little bit you think you can or you plan to next year, what are some things that will be maybe most important to you? Will be, how long the tournament goes? Is it the caliber of the course? Is it the other competitors? Is it the payout? Like what kinds of things will motivate you? Do you think?
Of course, it's the ease of being able to get to it and play it. Going for a ride there. There we go. But if I do get the chance to, for an extended weekend and go out of town or something, or get to a pro tour, a lot of times it's the course. I want to be challenged by the course. I really like the Jonesboro course. I really like the Ledgestone courses. Kind of eyeing Utah for Worlds, but we'll see how that plays out. But if I can get to a couple pro tours next year, that'd be great. But yeah, mainly the courses. Yeah, I like to be challenged by the courses, and yeah.
Do you have I don't want to say a bigger plan. That's the wrong way to word it. Is there a long-term plan of trying to play golf more in terms of, you said you're working at least 40 hours a week. What do you do? And then is there goals or aspirations of ever being on a tour full time or more regularly?
Yeah. So when I'm not taking down C tiers in southeastern Wisconsin, I work for what's called a terminal operator of video gaming terminals in Illinois. We've got licensed video gaming in bars and restaurants and truck stops. I'm an operations manager for a company called J&J Ventures. That's a second biggest terminal operator in the state of Illinois. So that keeps me very busy. But as the years go on, I just hope to play at the level I'm playing at now and better and stay competitive and play when I can. But I can't help but be honest that, things will be shifting, priorities will be shifting, next year as the baby arrives. But I hope to maintain or improve on the level I'm at now and try to get out when I can and travel when I can. And yeah.
Well, I mean, there's definitely something to be said about starting a family and then having a guaranteed paycheck versus, worrying about a cut through or a roll away on any given weekend, and whether that means baby formula or not. So
right.
Fully understandable that you want to go something that's a little more surefire. Now, people on the board have suggested get this man a sponsor. I'll ask, what do you throw, and or is there anyone you're aspiring to be sponsored by?
I throw primarily Discmania. I really like their brand and their marketing style, their strategy, and the professionalism of that company. Yeah, so primarily Discmania is what I got in the bag, and I like to think I can throw pretty far. So if I'm the third or fourth or fifth crush boy, that'd be cool. But I don't have the looks or age on my side that those boys do. But
yeah, and if you're not vlogging every day, I mean, I think that's going to be a new requirement. Like throw 600, tall, skinny, and then you know, have to be able to vlog and put out content daily. So there's some boxes to check.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, open to sponsors.
Okay. Now you say primarily Discmania. Do you then keep it, I'll say, like within an Innova or Discmania family if you're not throwing a Discmania disc, or do you have any, you know, do you have the one-off? Do you have the, you know, do you love the Buzz, or do you throw the Trespass or anything like that, or is everything pretty much an Innova type mold, Innova Discmania mold?
I putt with the Link.
Okay.
So I'm throwing their Evolution and their Active line. I have I guess it's stamped Tiger Warrior, which is Sensei, I guess. But putt with the Link, and then MD3 is a huge disc, and FD, huge disc, PD2, DD3. I try to be a mold minimalist and throw as few molds as I can. The only disc that's not one of those Discmania 3 umbrella companies is I always got a Firebird in the bag.
Which I'm sure, you know, if you were exclusively required to, you could probably find something pretty comparable within the Discmania lineup pretty easily to that as well. Sure,
absolutely.
Very cool. So, you know, I kind of, you know, threw this one at Dana out of nowhere, but I'll ask you as you performed it. You know, this weekend was mild at 48, 46, you know, those kind of temperatures. Thankfully, we had low winds as well, so it was very tolerable. But as a Midwestern guy, what tips or advice could you give to someone that maybe does find themselves, you know, at Smuggler's Notch in September, and all of a sudden it's only 43 when they wake up? What might be a tip or two that you feel like is really helpful as things get a little bit chillier for people?
In terms of strictly chillier, I mean, keeping the feet warm and the hands warm. I think of feel of the hands. I think most disc golfers would say that, and especially me, if I don't have that right feel in the hand and the right temperature, it's not staying warm. I don't have good blood flow, whatever the case is. It's not dry. I don't have that tackiness. I don't seem to play as well. So definitely conditioning the hands. And outside of that, just layering, I guess, and making sure you can be flexible and mobile in whatever you're wearing.
Sure. And I guess one thing that I think about is some people immediately go to, well, I need to keep my feet warm, so I go with a particular style, we'll say a boots versus, you know, just a regular sneaker, so to speak. And I think maybe there's a hybrid, maybe there's something in between. Maybe there's a hiker type boot that's got a little bit more room, so you got an extra layer of socks in there, because you don't want to go with big, you know, ginormous moon boots that you wore as a kid, you know, if you're trying to do a run up on a 500-foot throw. But I think, you know, like you said, keeping your feet warm, I think kind of gets overlooked very easily when we're out there.
Sure.
Yeah, because if your footwork's not all firing and ready to go, and your toes are numb, that can certainly throw off your entire day.
What does Calvin Heimberg do this time of year with those little Nike or whatever loose shoes that he's tweaking and twerking?
Yeah, blowing out. Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, yeah, for the most part, I don't know if I've never seen him outside of Florida this late in the year. So maybe that's just what his secret is.
Yeah.
But that's one way to do it. So, you kind of mentioned that, the first thing you said to me, which I definitely grinned and loved and chuckled at, you said you'd be available here on Tuesday night. What is it in terms of disc golf? I'll just say media, and you're not going to hurt my feelings or anything, but what do you usually consume? Are you a big live fan? Do you watch a lot of post production? What kinds of things do you usually consume? And will that ramp up now that it's the off season?
I try to catch every live Pro Tour event, and try to watch Jomez, and then I kind of look for people I know or have played with, or regardless of what production company it is. If there's somebody or a course or somebody I played with, I kind of seek those things out.
Okay. Did you ever spend any time playing with Gavin Rathbun, for instance?
Yeah, we played a few rounds together.
Okay.
When he's come down to Central Illinois. Yeah.
Yeah, and I asked because we see him. He's one of the guys that now I feel like has really transplanted himself. I see an Adam Hammis who's out in California, or I'm sorry, Arizona. I see Gavin who's in Florida. I see some of our players who are taking things a little bit more serious for their career. They're Jordan Castro, Minnesota, down to Arizona, that kind of thing. You're seeing these people migrate and become snowbirds to these places where they can keep their game going even during the slower part of the season. And I just think that, Gavin's a guy who I'll probably see this weekend myself, and know that he's an Illinois guy. So pretty tremendous what he's done. And I think we see nothing but success coming his way. Speaking of Discmania, young, big throwers, he checks he doesn't do the vlogging yet that I know of, but maybe you and him should tag team on that.
Yeah. I'll hit him up. Yeah, he's a stud. We played a few rounds together, Decatur, and I know we played in Decatur, but that kid, he's just constantly getting better. And I happened to see him at Delwood a few weeks or months back, and I had to hats off to him. He had a great year. He's just blowing up this year.
So just to backtrack a tad, we'll talk about preparation. You said you hadn't played that many rounds at the Gray Fox course where this weekend's tournament was. And I think this is applicable to everybody, whether you just won an A tier or a major or a C tier, it doesn't matter. What are some of the things that you personally did that you found that led you to the success this weekend? At a course you don't necessarily play all the time, or that you've only seen a few times. What are some of the things that you look for when you go to a course and you prep yourself to play in a tournament?
I'm always putting in the garage. You cannot putt enough, no matter how good you get. I just try to stay on top of that, and I would say I think I had 6 or so circle one misses this weekend. So like, you can win a tournament, but there's so much room for improvement still. So it's even coming out of a tournament, it's just right back in the garage, and this time of year anyway, because it's cold, but focusing on putting and whatnot. Outside of that, it's like if I'm feeling it any certain day, I can kind of tell in that first round, which was quite the contrast to the second round. I just felt like it was on. Shots were going it seemed automatic. They were going where I wanted them to. Had a few putts drop, and then outside of that, I mean, hitting field work whenever I can. I try to focus on fewest amount of molds and just throw shots over and over in the field, and try to dial in, those few discs that and can trust. And then that course, there was just a few holes that just lended themselves well to my FDs that I could, get to flip late. A lot of the holes were within putter range for me, so got real close on those. I really liked the 2 par 4s. They were a lot of fun. great 2-shot holes that I had the right disc and the right distance for. And I actually had one of the practice rounds, I actually shot a couple strokes better, like first or second time I played it, but with a few jump putts and crazy shots going in. So, but it helped the confidence, I guess, going into the tournament, knowing what I could shoot out there.
Well, so I'll just ask, and it's funny, and I'm going to look real quick while you answer this next question, because I did get an email that came in after I submitted all the scores to the PDGA. I got an email from a very analytical course designer type. His name is Steve, and he wrote to me about standardizing pars and what to call certain holes and so forth. And I'll just read it. He says, "I'm on a mission to get par standardized for MPO and FPO. If you want to use standardized pars for future events, consider the following adjustments. For Fox River Park, Gray Fox, blah, 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 the one we used. For MPO, to consider hole 1 a par 2. And hole 1 is 182 feet. It's obviously the shortest, well, not obviously, it is the shortest hole on the course. And if you're starting on hole 1, which the MPO division doesn't typically, but anyway, it's the start of the course, and it's a pretty straightforward shot. There's OB to the right if you really shank it. Otherwise, it's a pretty straight shot with a little bit of bush and shrubbery short that you very easily could get caught up in. But I did look at the scores, and I saw that first round, I think 14 out of 15 players took a 2 on it. That's what I think I saw. I'm gonna second guess. Well, I'm 2 clicks away from there. Let me confirm that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 14 out of 15 took a 2, and round 2. Oh, I'm sorry. That was round 2, 14 out of 15. And then in round 1, looks like 12 out of 15 took a 2 on it. Clearly a very easy hole. And so I guess my question to you would be, would that be crazy to get to that hole, look at the live scoring or something I sent out ahead of time and be like, oh, hole 1, par 2, like, would that be crazy to see?
Yeah. I'll be
okay.
Straight up. Yeah. I love the question. But I go back to what does it take a professional to get to the green plus 2 putts? That whole
Mm-hmm.
Theory from golf. I'm sure there's all sorts of stuff. I don't know the other configuration, if there's other pins on that hole or not, but
there's a long pin that is about 130 feet longer, and I'll be the first to admit it as the course designer. I don't really like it. I feel like it's a really hard pin to get to. It's kind of a weird shot with the bushes the way they are. I just simply don't love that pin, and that's one reason I've just never put it there. It can almost bring hole 2's tee into play. Not really though. It's just almost it's not impossible to birdie, but it's just kind of a weird birdie, and I don't care for it. And so from day one, I always considered hole 1's short pin the classic pin. And the classic pins, for anyone that cares, is about 7 short pins and 11 long pins. So it's not all, just the most difficult. They're just really the whole configuration that I like the best after I had designed the course. I was like, these are the 18 pins out of 36 that I like the best. And I called it the classic. And that's usually what I have tournaments then hosted on.
Yeah.
So we could go there. I think you'd find a ton of 3s. And people would be like, this is kind of a dumb hole. And I'd be the first to admit that. So
I don't think there's anything wrong with calling that one a par 3. I would never, I personally wouldn't never call it a par 2. I think on that course, there's some other questionable ones out there, like 3 maybe is kind of borderline 3 versus 4.
Yeah. And I guess if I really would have thought ahead, I would have done actually a little bit of, I always say I'm not a numbers guy. However, the PDGA scorecard, kind of like UDisc, is starting to make, number crunching and a little even basic analysis a little bit easier. so I think you'd have a valid argument. During round 1, there were 0 2s on holes 2 or 3, and during round 2, I'm sorry, that was round 2. Well, both rounds 2 and 3, there were 0 2s. Wow, holes 2 and 3, there were 0 2s on those either round, and so one could very much probably argue that maybe the par's not right for those 2 holes as well. You'd subscribe to that, you're saying?
Maybe 3, not so much 2. 2 just takes a good shot shape, I think.
Yep.
I got up there, I was putting both rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you hit the line just right, the par's right on that one.
Okay. And I say that all, and I know, people aren't necessarily like, what holes they talking about. I don't want to get too far in the weeds with it all, because you guys aren't.
Sure.
These aren't iconic holes that we're referencing. But I think also, if you shape the caliber of player a little bit, you put 10, 20 rated players on that course, and clearly we're going to see more 2s on hole 2, more 2s on hole 3, for instance. I think we're going to see that happen.
Absolutely.
We're talking about fields that aren't quite nearly as overall as deep as what we see,
Sure.
With our top level pros. So I am trying to kind of always keep that in mind. I guess I felt like you're not driving the pin on 17, so the only way you're getting 17 is with a throw in of some lengthy distance, and kind of the same on 15, although 15 is more gettable. We still saw 0 2s on hole 15, which was the other one I considered a par 4.
Was that a par 3? I was watching the coverage from last year. Was that a par 3 on the coverage last year?
It may or may not have been. This year, I'll say I thought about it a little bit more and considered it a par 4 on both 15 and 17 this year. And if somebody wanted to have an argument with me about those, I would be okay with that.
They're par 4s.
I feel like they are. I mean, there were 0 2s on them, and you need something just short of a throw in to get to either of them. And it didn't happen in 30 tries either round. So anyway, again, so I guess one of my final questions, and I'm going to backtrack slightly. When I asked about what you do, you talked about putting. You can never putt, too much. You keep your molds pretty straightforward. What I really mean too, though, is what did you do about the course? And maybe you just kind of answered it. You said you watched a video from last year, if that's available. But in terms of a course you don't play that often, or you're not that familiar with, when you go and see it, are you walking it? Are you throwing 10 shots on every hole? Do you just want to see it once? Would you rather play it blind? Like, what's your mentality going into a tournament for a course that you're not intimately familiar with?
Definitely play it as many times as you have time to. And just a couple shots off the tee and from the fairway. Try to focus more on getting through the entire course and seeing every shot. And a couple off the tee. Just playing the course as many times as you can. And then big thing is, I don't see a lot of people do, is when you get, if you're in the fairway on a par 4, or if you're on the green of a par 3, turn around and look back towards the tee. I focus on that a lot. It sheds light on a bunch of different routes and makes you rethink whether it's distance or disc or whatever. I'm always, when I get up there, I turn around and look back, and people are looking at me because I'm walking in front of them, and then I turn around and look back like something happened. I'm examining the course backwards almost. I try to do that a lot, I guess. I think that helps me anyway.
Yeah, I think that's really, really great advice. And I think about at one point this weekend on hole 12, which was ultimately your third hole of the second round, I remember being in the fairway and doing just that, because it's a hole that you can easily get into trouble to. You really kind of have to hit you have to hit a gap. You're trying to hit a specific fairway. But when you turn around and look back, you're like, oh, maybe there's a little more room here or there. And you don't have to throw a perfect shot. You just have to throw a decent shot. You just have to not get into trouble. You know, you don't have to pure the fairway. You just have to not get into too much trouble. And then you have to decide, do you want to miss? If you're going to miss, okay, I'd rather miss a little left than a little right, because right is jail and left is not great, but it's not nearly as bad as to the right, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah. If you get far left and you're in the sticks, it should be an easy up and down. Yeah. You want to be taking a 3 on that and not a 4 like I did on camera the second round.
I mean, I wasn't trying to go there, but yeah,
No,
those are just some of the things I think are so valuable. Like you're saying, look back, you know, see where the right or wrong misses are, and then see, is there another line, or is there an angle, or is there just a spot that you really only care about getting to, as opposed to driving it as far as you possibly can and thinking you're trying to get as close to the pin as possible, and really you just need to get to, you know, this spot, and from here you're gonna, you know, you're gonna have an easy up, you know, that kind of thing. So that makes sense as well. So to recap, someone asked, what are your top 3 molds that you rely on?
FD, MD3, and you got to have a putter in there. That has to be a main one of your bag. I'm putting with links.
So the link. Okay.
So,
okay. Awesome. Very cool. Anything else that I haven't touched on or asked you about that you want to share with the world out there, other than that you would entertain the idea of a sponsor? Certainly. You have one in mind. But anything else?
Not too much. I'm a long time Smashy. I listen to every podcast if I don't watch it. Haven't won a giveaway yet. I thought that would be my ticket to get on the show, but this I'll take this. This is better. I'd rather do this than win the giveaway. But
well,
no,
yeah, this is so much better.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Love everything you guys do. Like I said, I watch every live broadcast. I prefer that to any post-produced stuff. Love tuning in and making an event out of it as you would in any other sport, and trying to build it that way. And love what you guys do with that. I try to don't tell my bosses, but I got a browser up and, you know, tuning in on Thursday or Friday, depending on the tournament. You know, always got one browser pulled up on that.
Sweet.
But no, I can't really think of anything else. I mean, thanks for running a great tournament. I had a blast. I know with the state of everything, didn't really get to sit around and talk with the guys as you normally would at a tournament, but you know, Dan, I've played with him a couple times. He certainly gave me a run that second round. I didn't actually, you know, blow you away on camera or anything, but it was enough to take it home. So I'm happy about that. But it was a pleasure playing with all those guys, Sean, Robert, Dustin, and all them guys. And yeah, it was a great run tournament. It was smooth, and yeah. Thanks for having me and everything.
Well, I appreciate, of course, the kind words, but it's really cool, really exciting to hear that, you know, you're a Smashy, that you've been watching and partaking in the live, in the podcast, whatever else was going on all these years. So that's also very cool. And like you said, I think that's the best possible way to jump on the show and get your name called out, rather than, I mean, it's always cool to win free stuff, don't get me wrong, and we're glad that people do, and I hope you do here soon sometime, but to have you on as a guest that took down an event of any size, I think is always awesome. And I think we all know wins are tougher and tougher to come by, more than they were 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Winning is tough, but it's only getting tougher with the way that the competition continues to rise every single weekend in every corner of the country and around the world. So picking up a PDGA sanctioned win, I think anywhere, is certainly of note, and you should be pretty proud. And nice work out there. I'm excited to put the video together and let the world see a little bit of Gray Fox and see the excitement as it unfolded.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, I never clarified. I should have. Do you go by Chris, or is it always Christopher?
I go by Chris.
Okay. Well, either way, Christopher, I do appreciate you joining us. Thanks for coming down last moment. I know there was a little chaos or it was a little hectic this evening, but thanks for being a good sport about it and joining us here on SmashBoxxTV. And like I said, come back anytime when you rack up another win. It makes it that much easier. So it's always an easier sell as to join as a guest when you've just taken down an event, and we love seeing it, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Absolutely.
All right. Take care. Have a good night.
You too.
All right. And there we go. I got to thank Chris for joining yet again. It was really sweet's the best possible word. Right after we tallied up the scores, we knew that he had won and took it down. He just kind of looked at me, and we hadn't had this conversation ahead of time. He looked at me and he's like, "I'm available Tuesday night." That's like awesome, man. That was very cool, and so we're glad we could make it happen. So now, as some of you already know, when I'm alone with the camera, that's when sometimes things get a little bit rowdy, and I'll keep it in check here tonight. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some questions off the board if we have them. I know I kind of already disappointed some of you a little bit earlier in that the giveaway will just double up next week. I've already got some good stuff picked out. I think I had one or two that I even left at Johnny's house last weekend. There's a stamp. Will it focus? I know it's so tough. And there's a reflection of my face with half my face. This is not good. But anyway, huge shout out. I got to thank Trey and Sarah, both over at Innova, who were able to work with me and to make sure that we could get some custom discs. Everybody's struggling. I know everywhere with all the manufacturers, and there's some manufacturers that aren't even offering custom stamping at all, and inventories can be slim pickings sometimes, but Innova has been a gracious supporter of the event sometimes in the past for a few years. They've also sometimes supported the summer version that I run out there, the Skyline Classic. So thank you to Innova Champion Disc for being the sponsor here this weekend. We had a couple of other sponsors that jumped in this weekend. So thank you to all of them. And actually, if I can pull them up, I do want to shout them out and thank them. I know Ryan Pilcher, who's a huge Smashy and was running around helping out all weekend. Thank you, Ryan. He helped shoot some footage on Saturday. He helped with setup and takedown. He played himself on Sunday. He went and got the pizzas, picked those up. So thank you, Ryan, for all of that. And of course, all my sponsors are on the other son of a gun. All my sponsors are on my other computer, but Ryan, thank you so much. Actually, I can find him. Sam Martinson, thank you. Lisa Warner, who I mentioned earlier. Chris Schneider, Ladies First Disc Golf, was also one of our sponsors. I think I just said Adam Schleiss. I feel like those were all of the Eagle sponsors. So thank you to all of them. If there's others, please somebody let me know. But I think those are all of our biggest sponsors. Also, I worked with T-Box to do the shirt design, which I wish I had one open here in front of me, but I don't. But I do have a new shirt available. I'm going to open it. Because I didn't think of this earlier. I'm working on a couple different shirts, designs, stickers, all sorts of things. And so although I didn't order quite enough of these in terms of larges and extra larges, for instance, for additional sales, if you need a size larger than that, like a double or a triple, I can probably fulfill your needs. And I'm going to shamelessly plug a new shirt design that I had done up. And I think there it is. Maybe. So hope you like that. I'm got an astronaut throwing around a moon and an asteroid. around a Mando satellite. Can't see anything. So, yeah, nice navy blue long sleeve shirt. If you are needing a larger size like myself, I can make that happen. Okay. So, all right. Now, I'd like to touch on just a couple of things as we're missing Johnny V here tonight. He's down in Florida for work for a few days. I do want to say that this weekend I will be at a PDGA here taking place. The Chain Hawk Open taking place this weekend. Do you want to say good night to everybody? Everybody's watching. This is my daughter, Allison. Anything to say? Anything the world should know?
I took a shower.
Wow. They are likely impressed.
Good.
All right. Virtual school for you tomorrow, right?
Yep.
All right. Well, is your sister ready for bed?
Probably not.
Okay. Well, you guys should go to bed. Okay. So this weekend, taking place in Gainesville, Florida, there is good night, dear. There is three days of play that's going to be taking place, and I'm super excited. And just looking at a few of the names that are on the list, I know that we're going to have they're going to have Fox Hills out there doing the coverage of a MPO feature card and then the lead card throughout the weekend. And I think they're covering an FPO lead card as well. And then I'm going to kind of work around that. So they'll have the lead card, and then I'll pick up card or cards outside of those. But some of the names on the registration list right now for this weekend include Calvin Heimberg, Chris Dickerson, Andrew Marweed, who I feel like is a recent addition, Gavin Rathbun, Cameron Messerschmidt, Jamie Kep, Aaron Doyle, Charlie Goodpester, Cole Weirheim, AJ Carey, Girthy, Evan Girthy, that's not double G, but Evan Girthy. So really looking forward to it. Should be a great weekend, and looking forward to being down in Gainesville for a little coverage. It's going to be single camera that I'm going to put together. My commentary, maybe with someone else. I'm looking to get this out so that you guys have some fresh content available to you. So that is the plan for this weekend, and very much looking forward to it. All right, guys, let's read through a few of the notes here. There's not going to be technically an after show. I feel like my whole life is an after show. So here we go. Cody says, I want a medium. I'll see if I have any mediums. I did learn this weekend, large and extra large. It seems like no matter how many you order, you always run out, even though I knew the exact counts. But large and extra large, definitely I ran out of. But I did order a bunch of the larger sizes, and I might have a few smalls and mediums that I'll have to look into. And here's maybe my favorite part. I ordered a ton of women's cuts. So if you are looking for a gift to buy that special woman disc golfer or attempted converted disc golfer, if you are looking for a gift, or maybe you like to wear women's shirts yourself because you think the cut is more comfortable. No judgment here. I do have a lot of those in women's cuts that then run usually considerably smaller than any men's cut. And I was super happy to do that for the women that we had this weekend. So if you need a long sleeve, or you know someone that does, reach out. Rocky says, hey, listen, your dad rocks. Thank you, Rocky. I appreciate that. How do European Disc Golf Pro Tour stops work next year? Are they Silver Series events? Are there enough stops for a Euro player to make the Tour Championships? Great questions, Ray. And I don't want to speak incorrectly, but there's only one Disc Golf Pro Tour stop that is international next year. There's Euro Tour events. That's like their version of the national tour. that is separate from the Disc Golf Pro Tour that's taking place as the PCS Sula Open. So those are the PCS Sula Open is one stop on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and then they're probably hosting an entire Euro Tour set of events. Points earned, I'm sure, will count just like a regular event. Now, could someone, I'll just make up a name like Silver Lot. Let's say he goes to the PCS Sula Open and wins it and earns 100 points. Will that be enough that gets him into the finals at the Pro Tour Championships next year? That I don't know. I would highly doubt it. Well, I do know. It wouldn't be enough points on that one event alone. But it will count, I believe, as a regular stop on the Pro Tour. So I hope I've answered that question. Yes, Emily, that's why she had a towel on her head, because she did just get out of the shower. Daniel says, I'd like to hear about your entrepreneurship. A friend and I are discussing retail, tournaments, etc. What advice would you give to players who want to make a career out of their passion? Eesh. I mean, you've seemingly nailed the most important part there is having a passion for it. I've said the story far too many times that one of my friends, she's now become a family friend. She worked in the office in which I was interning at. This was around 2000, 2001. And I was just getting near completion of college. And I was working on in a division of a software company. And I remember her saying to me, I remember it so vividly, and that was 2001. So I was into disc golf a full 6, 8, 9 years by then, 8 years at least. And I had only known her for a year or two at this job. And she had said to me, you should do that disc golf thing for a living. And I laughed. I said, yeah, right. I said, there's no such thing. I said, unless you want to go pack boxes at Discraft or work a stamp machine and pack boxes at Innova, which are great jobs, but unless you want to do that, there's no other careers in disc golf. There wasn't. And the people that already worked at Innova or Discraft were the ones that already worked there. And I remember it so vividly. And it was crazy because it was, I completed my job there. I didn't end up accepting their offer to stay there after college. I went to Kohl's Corporation. The headquarters are just a few minutes from where I live now. And I worked there for a year and a half, 2 years. And then I quit in August of 2003. So 2 years later, and I said to myself and to my mom at the time, I said, I'm going to give this 1 year. And if I can't make a living somehow out of disc golf, then it was never meant to be. And of course, I worked an odd job or two to pay a few bills, but that was running tournaments, 15 to 20 a year, very large to very small. That was designing courses. I think I've designed 30 some courses where you can make money on the design and money on selling some of the equipment. And then after I would design and then get a course installed, I would then offer to run classes, clinics, demonstrations, park and rec classes. I picked up then a few other businesses nearby. So the nearby gas station would then sell discs, which I was the middleman for. All of those avenues, like I explored or exploited every single one of those opportunities that I could in doing that. And then of course, eBay came along and I was selling a few discs here and there on eBay. Then I got really serious about it for a few years, but still was never like a full-time thing. I say it all the time. I feel like I've done almost every job in disc golf except for physically mold discs. And that I have no interest in that. I'm not that smart. And so there was no disc golf media for me until 2010 when I started my vlog. And then that slowly evolved into a dozen other components of disc golf media. So a really long-winded way of saying, like, you have to have the passion, and then find something that you can do, or somewhere where you maybe stand out, which there's a lot of opportunity. There's so many different things people could do. I just talked to a gentleman the other day, one of my favorite people on the planet, and he's only going to become even closer and more favorite, I can tell, as time goes on. He's taking an opportunity, and I said, this opportunity that he was about to take didn't exist 10 years ago. And so that's exciting for him, and that's exciting for our sport, because there's now more things you can do with disc golf than you could 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or I think back to 2001. And the possibilities are limitless. You just have to decide what you want to do and where you can benefit someone or some company, or go on your own and stand out. Sorry if it's a little more than you're looking for. Get me all fired up. Is there a South A tier that Chris doesn't play? I'm guessing Chris Dickerson. Hi, that's a good question. I mean, he's very regional to being in Tennessee, but then you see him go to Florida for the last few years. You know, he's got friends like Zach Melton and Calvin Heimberg and Kobe Geis and those types that he then hooks up with, and enjoying Florida in December. I think that's all too logical. And what we've seen over these last few years, it's been great. Chase says, excited for the coverage for this weekend, as am I. JT O'Brien says, cost on the shirt. I was doing those locally for $18. So if we wanted to add, I don't know, maybe $3 or $4 to get it shipped, $22. Don't hold me to that. Tomorrow it might be $28. And they fit. Most of the bigger sizes are straight, I think 100% cotton. I'm going to talk to Miles over at Paragon about that. I think those are straight cotton. I think that's what that says, is 100%. So they're going to run, they'll probably shrink just a little bit. Is that some Cam Todd on your wall? Funny enough, in the back wall, it is. Oh, this is difficult. I went with blue tonight for Smashbox. On the back wall, that is Cam Todd artwork. I picked that up, I think, at the 2012. Yeah, 2012 Worlds. I actually bought like 10 pieces of his that he had made up. I spent hundreds of dollars with him. Bought like 10 random pieces. And these were all actually done by someone else a number of years ago. And I don't think you can see them real clear. But there's like that's basically a Buzz logo of sorts. That's a basket with a disc coming into it. And then that is that's a rock, all kind of recreated. They're incredible. I wish I could sell them to people because they're so cool, but I want them in my office. Emily, a women's large. Yes, we can make that happen. Rocky says, in 2001, I was 11 and you don't remember it so vividly. Okay. That's fair enough. Fair enough. If that's your polite way of saying I'm old. Cody says, I envy the engineers that get to make new molds. Yeah, I don't. And I say that with an appreciation of them. I'm not analytical. I'm not scientific like that. I'm not precise. I don't have any history or background in that form of engineering and or aerodynamics. Like, knowing how expensive it is to make a mold and then to make adjustments, and then how much the heat and the plastic and the cooling and the injection molding and the fillers and the pellets and the plastics, none of that interests me. None of it. I'm glad I have the slightly distant experience and or understanding of it all, but none of that interests me just because I'm not that smart. But it is really incredible stuff. Is your retirement fund garage full of discs? I got a lot of frisbees. That's a good way to put it. It's just a matter of letting some of them go. Cody says Veterans Park Open has that gas station that also sells discs. Pretty neat idea. Christopher's out on the board, says thanks T-Dog and Smashbox. Thank you, Chris, for joining. It was awesome. Making molds would be so difficult. You're exactly right. Why no talk of world record throws? I'm not sure what you mean by that. In general, I think Simon and David Wiggins and those types could tell you. I feel like there's a really good chance we will never see that distance record broken, because just the right throw was made in extreme conditions. And I don't want to say it's tainted. I almost hate that it's now seemingly unobtainable. Like the way in which the last distance of 1,100 feet, whatever it was thrown. And this is no shade. I've known all these guys, and I admire everything that they've done in terms of their athletic prowess to do what they did. But because of the way that the conditions were for that day in the desert, I just don't know if there's ever going to be, outside of maybe some dumb luck, I just don't know if there's ever going to be the right conditions on the right days to then go out and break those records with the right people there. And maybe there will be. Maybe in 2 years or next year, they say, hey, let's have a big distance competition, a world record distance competition. And they go out there and it's 52-mile-an-hour winds. And David Wiggins throws it 1,400 feet. I don't know. That could happen. I just feel like there's like so many things need to align just right for that record to get broken. And for me, that's just a little deflating, that we may never see it broken. And again, not that I don't like records or that I feel like all records should stand by any means. It's just, that's all I can say about that. Have you seen the guy that making discs in his garage out of recycled plastic? Can't even imagine. I don't know who you're talking about. I've seen some interesting setups, but I don't know if we're talking about the same one. Are there 2 World's tourneys next season? Utah for 2020 and 21? No. No, Ray. So there will be anyone that, I believe every single major that was to be granted for 2020 is getting delayed, or postponed is the better word, postponed until 2021. So if you were granted an event for 2020, you are then going to go host it in 2021. And anyone that had 2021, I think of Madison, Wisconsin, and the U.S. Women's, which is just an hour away, that will then get pushed into 2022 and so on and so forth. So I hope, and I think that answers your question. I would like to see what a world record distance would be for tournament play. Yeah, I mean, and if you're referencing a golf shot versus a distance shot, those are very different things as well. Cody says we need a 0 wind flat field record, and that would be great. It's just a matter of a facility that could hold those kind of throws. And that's the only reason why, well, not the only reason, but that's a major reason why that doesn't exist. Well, there might be some record officially, but why we haven't seen Simon and David Wiggins and all of those types, Eagle McMahon and whomever, all go, because there hasn't been an indoor competition held in the right facility. But it is a good idea. I agree. I'd love to see it. I don't know. No, I don't think anyone would argue with it. David Wiggins, Simon, they would be the first to sign up. Double G, they would be there in a heartbeat. I think it would be tremendous to watch that happen. And I think it will happen someday in our lifetime. Not too far from now. Even though that sounds like I'm hinting at something and I'm not. But I do think it will happen. Ryan says, when and how can I get my hands on a SmashBoxx stamped disc? Ryan, reach out to me. I could maybe make that happen depending on what you want. I have a very limited supply of what I've ever had stamped, to tell you the truth. I should get more, but there's a very limited supply. I think some Thunderbirds and AVRs and Rocks many years ago. We've had some Trespass and a few other discs done in with Dymax There's only been a few that have been done that way. I don't know that we've ever had Discraft stamp stuff yet, or Discmania, but yeah, I should probably get on that. Why no sidearm distance record? I think there is kind of an unofficial one, but I don't know who's keeping that record officially or unofficially. I don't know if Scott Stokely still have it. I don't know. Trash Panda is his name. Super cool project. Oh, okay. I like it. Favorite course in California. I've only played a dozen. Okay, maybe 20 courses in California. So I would probably be doing injustice to say what my favorite one is. However, I mean, I love playing Dela. Dela is the first one that comes to mind. Golden Gate was kind of cool. It's obviously historic in its own ways. So playing Golden Gate a few years ago was pretty cool. Yeah, there's a lot of courses in California that I just have not played that I'll have to get out to and play. But there's a ton of them. I mean, I've played La Mirada, which is of course great, both sides. Played in, Silmar, Pasadena, Oak Grove. I got a chance to play there. Played all of the 2011 Worlds courses, Ryan Ranch and the CSUMB course, along with what else did we play out there that year? So, I mean, I've played a number of courses, but hardly any of them really in the big picture. I bet the future will have indoor courses. I don't know about whole courses. I mean, just think about the scale in which, if you were going to have like think about it. A really good course is going to take 20, 30, 40 acres. I don't know how you indoors 40 acres. I don't know how you cover 40 acres. Guinness needs to get involved. Yes and no. It's funny. I know a dozen people that have various Guinness World Records. And of course, there's a clout and a notoriety that comes with those. But I don't want to say it feels like a racket, because they clearly just that. It comes with clout and notoriety and a bunch of things. But it is really interesting. And I don't want to be completely incorrect. So you guys should go see what it means to get or to have a Guinness World Record. Not that I'm not suggesting it's easy. I'm saying when you do have it, there's just a million like little stipulations and regulations to it, and how and where you can print it, and how many things you can print that on that you have it. And I know guys with yo-yo. I know more than one yo-yo person that's in the Guinness Book of World Records. I know obviously some disc golfers. I feel like there's probably documentaries out there. If there's not, there should be. It's a really interesting subculture world out there when it comes to Guinness related things. $60 for a trespass and AVR. Sorry to barter here. let me hunt down to tell you what I have, and then I could maybe tell you what I could let go of. Yes, Ryan, though, I do. Shameless plug for my side gig of shipping boxes. Oh, funny you mentioned that. I think I have some right here. Okay, maybe not. Yeah, I do. You guys saw this last week. My office is a mess. You need to ship you need to ship a disc. I've got the right box solution for you, along with the bags to go along with it. All right. You should do a charity disc auction sometime. Make it a Christmas tradition. I've got no shortage of ideas. It's a matter of making them come to fruition. Ray, I appreciate the thought, though. You have played Idlewild, 35 minutes away. Have you played Idlewild? 35 minutes away. Hardest course I've ever played. Not saying much, but gosh. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, when you're talking about the skill level, and if you see our top players on the planet struggle there, you're definitely know that you're in for something, and definitely a very difficult course. I agree. How much for those pronto, or do you mean proto destroyers? Yeah, proto destroyers. For those proto destroyers, I don't know which ones you're talking about specifically. I just know I have half a box of proto destroyers, which I'm super excited to still own all these years later. A very Merry Terry Christmas Fest. Recently at a Play It Again, we snagged a pre-flight number Star SL in near mint condition. Rocky says Simon just sold a Sky God for over 2 G's to raise money. And of course, I have to admit, I love seeing when our pros, of course, the more beloved they are. I think they're going to be even more successful in their fundraising efforts. I'm not sure what he, I didn't even actually, I knew he was going to do something. I feel like I saw an announcement somewhere at one point, but I didn't see anything past that. So to hear that he sold something for over a Sky God for over $2,000 is pretty awesome. And again, no surprise there. And Sehe said Paul Macbeth and his brother at Huntington Beach disc golf course yesterday. Some roots, no surprise, with him and his family. I think his grandpa and some of his family still lives out there in Huntington Beach. I don't know how to always answer that or say that. Huntington? Do you pronounce the T? Huntington. I don't know. I feel like every time I've done it, I've said it wrong. Okay. Let's see what else, if there's anything here on the, specifically on the, I don't think we're pushing to Facebook tonight, just because I'm not that, actually my systems aren't that capable. I do want to thank, again, I know I mentioned earlier, I want to thank Tom McManus as well for the help, and along with Ryan Pilcher, those two guys specifically always go above and beyond. And there's a ton of gracious, incredible people that are so helpful anytime I'm doing an event or helpful in that area. But those two very specifically, I wanted to thank them. Also, in other news regarding this weekend, over at the Cold Turkey, a couple other exciting things. Mark Bennett. Mark, there you go. I said it wrong for you. He took it down in intermediate after a playoff. There was a 3-way tie for that. Lindsay Westberg took it down in intermediate women. Dan Ryan won recreational. Hattie Frisch won in a playoff. Also, she took it down in rec women. Travis Gonzalez won in novice, and Juliana Schick took it down in novice women. Congrats to all of them. This was Juliana's first PDGA event, and her and her husband both play, which is awesome to see. And they're out there all the time. Anytime I've been to that course, I've seen them out there with their children and other relatives, always just playing golf every time I go down there and visit. So I think that's really cool to see. So congratulations to her for taking it down as well. Tim asks, who is this sexy man on camera? I don't know, Tim, you got a camera up and running? Rocky referred to Simon that he won the, or that he sold that Discmania disc on the Discmania marketplace. What was he fundraising for, though? That's the only thing I don't know. And I'd love to recognize whatever it was. Not that it needs my recognition. PDGA membership has been crazy. Thoughts? Numbers? Here's what I'll say. Back in March, when things really got shut down, we were at Waco. It was mid-March, late March, early April, maybe into May. I don't remember exactly when. And people were screaming and losing their minds about how the PDGA was doing them dirty because they weren't saying if they were extending memberships or anything of that nature. They weren't saying at that point. They weren't refunding memberships. That much I think was made very clear early on. And then we went on, in kind of a parallel note, we went on to have more PDGA memberships and growth this year, and less tournaments than in the last 20 years, but yet more members and membership growth. Disc golf exploded even more this year than anyone would have imagined. And of course, we all hate that this pandemic hit, but in terms of disc golf growth, this year has been insane. And people want to be part of the gig, the community, the organization. Like, I feel like here's my little anecdote to that. This weekend, and I'm not gonna lie, it made me chuckle. I'm not. This isn't derogatory in any way. It made me chuckle. There was a gentleman who played this weekend, and I asked him what his PDGA number was. Said he was a member. He didn't know it, but he took off his sweatshirt, and right there on his custom disc golf shirt was his PDGA number. And in the craziest way, I can't tell you what I feel like that really means. I mean, this is a guy that has, and I've known my number. I maybe know a few dozen, maybe 100 other numbers. I don't know 100 numbers, but I know a lot of other people's PDGA numbers from being a tournament director. A PDGA number to me is like a social security number. And maybe in some ways even more, because I don't understand all of the details of social security numbers. But I know if your number's in the 9,000s, I know you're an international player, or the 8,000, sorry, you're an international player that they got set aside for a certain amount of years. I know if you're sub 5 digits, you were signed up sometime in like 94 or 93 or earlier. I know if you're in the number 100 or less, you're insanely a pioneer of our sport. So PDGA numbers to me, and people always make fun of it and say, who cares what your number is? It matters. It doesn't matter because I put value on you or your game or anything you're doing as a person. It matters because it gives a snapshot. It tells a little bit of a story to someone like me. So to see a guy have a custom dye sublimated shirt that has his PDGA number on it, but he's still so relatively new to the game or has poor memory, but he's still new enough to the game that he doesn't have it memorized, it's just incredible. I think a few years ago I might have laughed at them and like, oh, that's so silly. Like, it's kind of silly in a good way today, in my opinion. So I just thought that was a takeaway moment for me this weekend, is to have that interaction with someone. Also, I'm not going to lie, it's funny when I look at PDGA numbers at a tournament and I'm 42, and I look and I might have one of the lower or lowest PDGA numbers in the event. Like that amuses me. I think at was it our not that I'm playing, but the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championships, was that the one that I was thinking of? Where I would have had the second lowest or the single lowest. Obviously Simon was not didn't end up playing. He's 8.332. Tour. I'm sorry. I hate doing this while I'm rolling on here live, but I do want to look. This is going to, here we go. Yeah, Nico LaCastro is the lowest MPO at 11.534, and then FPO, the most common woman that would have a lower one than me, would be Elaine King, who was not playing. So yeah, I did look at that. That's what that was. I remember a few weeks ago looking at the Pro Tour Championships, and to me it was crazy to think I had a lower PDGA number than every one of these people that are playing for this $20,000 first place prize. And just where have we come from? I mean, there's only 4 players in the 10,000 number, 10 to Nico, Double G, Barsby, and Conrad. Like, that's crazy to me. Yeah. So I got off on a really long tangent there. I don't know about what. Oh, PDGA numbers. They're growing. That's what I should have told you. Rocky going back at it about going to be giving away the money per his post, probably kids disc golf or you play DG. Okay, that's what Simon was doing. Very, very cool to see. How many active members are there in the PDGA out of curiosity? If you have any visibility to this, I know it's not all 110,000. No, and 110,000 is not the right number. I think what are we at, 150, 160,000? I feel like the PDGA put out an infographic earlier in the year that we were at, for the first time ever, 50,000 current members. And I could be making that up. I always tell you I'm not a numbers guy, but I want to say 50,000 current members, which was a new record. Again, don't quote me on that. Shout out to Andrew Castro and to the American DGA from Huntington Beach. Jonny Sias and his wife Adele ran the PDGA from their house. 33271. No, that number's too high. Oh, Ryan, are you telling us yours? Ryan Pilcher says, I signed up in the beginning of 2017 and I've played events where my number is lower than half the players in the field. It's crazy to me how many people have signed up just in the last 18 months. And yes, as Emily points out, Elaine King's number is 3090. I mean, she's the greatest of all time. I mean, come on. 5-time world champ. Is it possible to purchase someone else's PDGA number if they are up for it? Say I want to have my son. Not really. There was something about if your number was really close to someone and they would have to kind of let it switch and whatever. Now, if you have any history with your number, I'm pretty certain there's no way they would let that slide. And just I think to put it fully out there, you're talking about an absolute logistical nightmare. Just think if you played for 1 year, you played in 6 different divisions, just because you were testing things out. You played in 6 different divisions at 12 different tournaments, all with this particular PDGA number. And then a year later, someone says, hey, man, I'll pay you $1,000 to switch your PDGA number because it's transposed 2 digits with my newborn son number. That might seem easy to you, but from a PDGA perspective, I just don't think they're looking to take on that kind of hassle. I'm just guessing. What's the ultimate cop-out? Don't quote me. I'm just guessing. So, yeah, that's where we're very fortunate. My number is 10738. My daughter is Allie, who is in here, is 40738, and then my other daughter was 50738. But that was back when they had a slightly different system and things. There was a little more of a manual process to go along with it. And legend has it that my second daughter, my last daughter, Mackenzie, was the last to have a number that they were, so to speak, waiting for, because that was right around the time they were switching it over to a different system. And there was really no more that opportunity of, oh, we're going to stop it on a certain number, insert a certain name to get that number, and then, let the machine keep rolling, so to speak, that they've just gone away with all of that. So maybe they were just feeding it to me, but that would have been around 2011. That's when she was born. Sometime in that general time frame was roughly when they stopped allotting certain numbers. And at one point, I know there was a fee, and that's how you could help get a number reserved or saved. But I think they've entirely gone away with all of that. Now, if you made $1 million contribution to the PDGA, could they maybe find a special clause to get you a specific number? I would hope so. I would want them to quote unquote sell out for $1 million donation, but outside of, and I'm not going to say only outside of that, but it's just a logistical nightmare is really what the problem is. Interesting fact. For instance, look at like Valerie and Avery Jenkins. Valerie Jenkins is 17495, as opposed to Avery's 7495. So like clearly that was intentional and done on purpose many moons ago. I sound old just saying that. As opposed to, and then Avery, I know Avery was watching the registrations in terms of names, and then I think it was really close as he was trying to get his first son to get the number that then matched up, and then I think there was some magic that happened, but it used to take weeks to go through dozen 100 PDGA numbers, and now they're going through 100, I'm guessing daily, or maybe hourly or whatever on a busy day. So things are moving quicker. Which numbers were reserved for European players at the time? This was before I came along, actually. Excuse me, and was really involved. But it sounded as if they had reserved the 8,000s. And I always can remember that because, again, Simon is, 8332? And so all of the 8,000s were reserved for European players. So even somebody that could have got it much later than for instance, mine at 10738, I believe could have got it later, but got an earlier number for Europeans. And then they went away with that. I don't think they ever did another reservation, so to speak, after that. Are thumbers cool? I think so. They hurt my arm looking at them, and it's not a shot I could ever rely on personally. But if it works for you, make it work. A mill at the cost of all cemeteries. Any just an update query on the database and maybe find and replace script? Sure, Matt. I'll write you a damn it. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I'm not writing any script or code for you. You clearly know what you're talking about already, though. I tried to bribe the PDGA to get a custom PDGA number. I said I'd hook up the DB guy. Yeah, the database guy over there. Yeah, I don't know, my SQL stuff, something. I'm sure you're all over that. It sounds like you would be, but yeah. Good luck. Dust says, I got my first turkey today and shot the first double digits under par with a -10. Shorter course, but it was still great. I don't care. I say it all the time. People think it's so easy to shoot. There's pitch and putt courses. I feel like with a pitch and putt course comes added pressure. And hear me out. I would bet you, I'm looking at almost every one of you, almost. I could give you a 175-foot hole in 3-mile-an-hour winds without a tree, 175 feet. And I could say, you're going to throw this hole 18 times, and I bet you do not birdie it. I would bet $500 you do not birdie it all 18 times. I'd take up most people on that bet. Even if you got through 13, 14, 15 of them, by 16 or 17, you're thinking about it. You're nervous. A 12-footer, you hit a little high left that should have came out, but it didn't. Or you do get a treacherous spit on what looked like a good putt. I'm just saying to shoot in 18 under, and I'm not even talking about the Macbeth 18 unders and that kind of magic. I'm just saying every birdie counts, and don't take anything for granted. And I think way too many people underestimate pitch and putt courses, and I'm a big fan of them in the sense that it almost feels like more pressure. And I know I made this post on Instagram a few weeks ago. Would you rather birdie a hole that only 5% of the field birdies? Or would you rather birdie a hole that 95% of the field birdies? Like, which one's more important to you? Which one is more gratifying? Assuming you're taking pars otherwise, which one's more gratifying, if either? Because when you miss a hole, like hole 1 at Gray Fox that I talked about, where 14 out of 15 people got it, do you feel bad missing that hole? And you're like, oh man, I just lost a stroke to 14 people in the field? Or would you rather go to a hole where you're only one of, the only person all day to get the birdie there, but you had parred back on the easiest hole? I just think mentally those types of things can get at you a little bit. Daniel says, over here in Minnesota, we have a golf course that opens 2 disc golf courses on the property over the winter. Anything like that in Wisconsin? Yeah, Daniel. I hosted that for about 3 or 4 or 5 years at a course up in Appleton, for instance, area where I grew up in Freedom. It was called Freedom, Wisconsin, at Irish Hills. Not Irish Hills. Yeah, maybe. They did just that. They closed down the golf course at a certain time, whether it was October or November, and then had disc golf, 18 disc golf baskets up exclusively just for disc golf throughout the entire winter, and then took them down come spring. And they did that for 3, 4, 5 years. It's tough to sometimes have an exciting course out on a golf course, and then you're playing it in the winter, so there's less trees, and you're just looking at fields and fields and fields, or fairways and fairways of snow. Of course, you have to do what you can with the property, but so that's one that comes to mind, for instance. And then after a few years, they weren't seeing enough traffic because they really only saw people on the weekends for the most part. And for them to keep their bar open just to see, a few dozen people on the weekends, it kind of depends on their business model. If they're already open, well, then it's maybe no big deal. But if they're opening just for the notion that they're going to get enough disc golfers to come out and to make it profitable for them, I think, it has to be a special course or a special piece of property or located in just the right area. Otherwise, and think about Wisconsin or Minnesota, there might be 10 courses that close in the winter, but there might be 30 other ones or 50 other ones nearby that stay open. So people just migrate over to those other courses, and then that's where they end up playing throughout the winter. So tough to say out there. I mean, Winter Dretzka does it, but here in Milwaukee area, but there's 20 some holes that are out there, and there's a lot of woods that's able to get used. And so for those reasons, that's why it's more popular. It's a fun, easy course to play, and it's just already such a staple. You're already going to that course, 8 months out of the year. So when you go out there and you find a different configuration in winter, it's like, okay, it's everything's normal. If you have to go to a totally different property, I don't think you'd find that success rate quite as high. Disc golf is the hardest sport the pros make look easy. Stupid hard. 18 under only works on the Winton Woods course in 98. In 88, not 99. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what all these players do, and you can argue about pars and you can argue about difficulty of courses, but to me, it's always about that pressure of having, a great round going, and you're on hole 12 and you haven't missed a hole, which doesn't happen that often. Then you start thinking you might be in the groove, but you start thinking about woulda, coulda, shoulda, and all the other things. And I give it to anyone that, lays down rounds that are ridiculous, because mentally you have to be not talking yourself out of all the stuff that's going good for you. Winton Woods in Cincy. All right, guys, I'm going to call it. You guys have been incredible. When I'm doing the after show, it feels like my own after show, just rambling on and on. But I do appreciate all the questions and the insight and the thoughts that you guys have. Sorry if it looks weird that I'm constantly looking just above you, the camera here, but that's where all the questions come in. It's been fun. It's been really great. Christopher was great to have on the show. Fresh face that we haven't otherwise seen. Dana's face, not quite as fresh, but still love to see it. And hopefully we'll see more of him coming up here soon. Looking forward to the next few weeks. I think we're gonna have Jonny back in play next week. We may have our Chainhawk Open champion, quite possibly have whoever that might be join us on the show, as I'm excited to go down to Gainesville and check out the action there this weekend. So look for some cold turkey coverage. I'm going to try and get that out here. I don't know when I'm going to be able to work on that, but I'm going to try and put that together for you guys. And no, it doesn't have Paul Macbeth and Ricky Wysocki and Greg Barsby and Kevin Jones and Chris Dickerson, but it will be some fresh new content, and hopefully maybe you'll see that course that a lot of people seem to really love and enjoy. And maybe I'll see you here at a cold turkey in one of the future years. We're going to have double giveaways next week. Jonny V will be back, as I said, and looking forward to all of it. So one last time, Tom McManus, Ryan Pilcher, all of the sponsors that contributed this weekend, Sam, Ryan, Adam, Ladies First, Barrett White, Lisa Warner, anyone, and of course our title sponsor in Innova Champion Disc, to all of them, along with the help from T-Box. I appreciate it so much that you guys could join me tonight. Hopefully this worked for you, as I know it wasn't the standard Tuesday night setup, but I'm glad I could come to you from my own studio office. And if things work well, maybe you'll see another podcast or two pop up. I'm working on something. Love you guys from all of us at SmashBoxxTV, which is really just Jonny and me and the rest of our Smashy family. Appreciate it. This has been 326. I'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox. Click. Maybe. End stream.